I am a student at MIT Sloan, and it's my pleasure to be introducing our next two CA speakers. So we have Adam Groh from Core Software, along with Carlos Kesbers from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they will be talking about the confluence of warehousing, visualization, and CRM.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. We know who all our real friends in the industry are now because they're here and not at Mark Cuban and Nate Silver, so thank you, guys. We're here to talk to you today about the confluence of warehousing and visualization of CRM. So my job requires me to travel a lot. I'm on airplanes, flying around meeting with teams. When you start traveling this much, you begin to start wondering kind of how the FAA works, right? You're on a plane almost every week, a lot of planes moving in and out. So I did a little research on it. I wanted to understand exactly how the FAA works. And what I discovered was quite interesting. It's broken out into 4 different divisions. Essentially, it has 21 different sectors broken across the United States. Within each, centers, within each center, there's various sectors as well as TRACON airspaces, right? And they work simultaneously. When you're at cruising altitude, you would be in a sector, but then when you drop down for descent to land or take off, then you would be dropping into the TRACON airspace. Each TRACON airspace is about a 50-mile radius, and the radius essentially has different air towers within each one. They say on average there's about 5,000 airplanes in the sky at any given time, and equating to about 50,000 flights per day going through the U.S. airspace, which means there's a lot going on up there. So how does the FAA actually manage all this? How do they keep everybody safe and arriving on time to all their different destinations? Well, essentially it all starts with the pilot. The pilot fills out a flight plan at the beginning of every flight. They look at the weather, they look at the different flight paths they can take, and then they file it up to the air towers. When they file it up to the traffic control towers within each airport, they review it, and they create what's called a flight strip. What you see up on the screen is a flight strip. Various data points, I'm not going to go through each one, but each flight strip essentially has 17 data points that they need to make sure that your flight can take off and get back to its destination safe and sound and on time. So when you do the math, that adds up to about 1 million data points per day that are flowing through the FAA system. So for example, as you take off and you're being passed through TRACON, going up into your cruising altitude, your airline your flight is actually passed from sector to sector and zone to zone. So obviously the FAA relies on efficient processes and the transfer of that data in efficient ways and the visualization to come across to all the different people. So we're going to try to actually draw a parallel between the FAA system and any other organization. So Carlos has joined me to kind of talk about how important it is, just like the FAA. Sure, theirs is maybe life or death being careful, but every organization needs to have efficient processes that drive the data, as well as visualization of that data to make real-time strategic decisions. So Carlos, you want to talk to us about kind of where Oklahoma City was prior to getting a centralized data warehouse and using that warehouse to disseminate the information across all the different departments.
Yes, Adam, I'd love to talk about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, good morning. So as Adam said there, the Thunder, I don't like to use the word issues because we all kind of have issues, but we had opportunities. And as his correlation towards the FAA and flight traffic and all that kind of stuff went on, we saw ourselves in a similar pattern. We had flights going kind of all over the place, and we were aware of all of it, but what we were missing was that air traffic controller, the person that's going to help us put all of these data streams into one centralized location and disseminate it out as such, and then also help us kind of pair some stuff together as we went along. So I listed some bullet points here, and I described our process as a spaghetti bowl. Lots of layers looping around each other, lots of things going on. We were in Excel overload, so I think as many teams kind of start out in their process, Excel is easy, it's comfortable, it's nice, it works well, it's a great spreadsheet product. We had spreadsheets going all over the place that lived on everybody's desktop, so they weren't really talking to each other. We didn't have any automated reporting. It was all ad hoc. We had stuff that either I would put together and I would email out every Monday morning, or someone else would put out an email on Thursday at 4 p.m., all of that kind of stuff. We had an inability to correlate the data. That was a big thing that our executive team wanted to see, is how is weather affecting our scan counts, or how is the high jersey selling from the opposing team affecting our food and beverage per caps. Those were things that we just weren't able to do in the environment that we had. And then on top of all of that, we realized in the environment that we were living in that we were capped. We could not grow as a data-driven organization in the capacity that we currently had. We knew that we needed to get something centralized and help push us forward.
So ultimately, you had to make a decision on kind of centralizing all that, and you began looking for a vendor, or more so a partner, to help you guys do that, right?
Correct.
So when you started that journey, kind of what were you finding when you originally started? What were the different options out there?
Yeah, tons of really, really good partners exist and still exist, and I'd recommend most of them. What we found interesting with Core was that it created one solution for all of our opportunities that we had. We were in an environment where we needed to upgrade our CRM system. We were in an environment where we needed to stand up a warehouse, and we were in an environment that we needed someone to help us build some visualizations and start creating these automated reports to help us grow as a business. So our satisfaction with Core is that they accomplished all of that. Paired with the fact that if we had an issue with any one of those things, we were contacting one person, which was terrific. It wasn't, we needed to contact so-and-so at this one, so-and-so at this one, and so-and-so at this one.
Right. And so what you kind of see here is kind of a model that we have based here at Core, essentially bringing that all into one ecosystem. So instead of having one vendor for a warehouse, one vendor for a CRM partner, and maybe even one vendor helping you with the consulting and reporting aspect, we bring that all in our ecosystem, and hopefully make it a streamlined process for everybody from a sales rep to an admin to executive management.
Yeah, absolutely. And then through the process, we're all kind of learning about what each one of those systems is doing too. So our CRM admin has access to the warehouse and kind of start tooling some things around in there, or our marketing team has access to the server site where they can look at those reports, all under one umbrella, which has been fantastic.
Got it. So now that you've actually picked a partner to actually help you implement this centralized hub, kind of, can you explain what happened, what came together, and what the results were? So you had all your different systems generating all this different disparate data, correct?
Yep. Here's the connection, guys. These were all of our airplanes flying. We needed an air traffic controller to kind of bring it all together. So we had our survey data with Turnkey. We had email marketing stuff with Eloqua, food and beverage with Bypass, and as you can see, all those icons up there, those were all of our data streams that lived within our ecosystem, but separate of each other. And we were able to do some certain things with Excel, pairing stuff together, but we were just limited in how we were able to do that. So bringing it into Core's system has allowed us to disseminate that to the different departments and do different things, and which we'll talk about a little bit later. The beauty of this whole thing is it's created more curiosity within our organization, more questions being asked, which has led to more processes, more dashboards and findings, to try and make things actionable to make our organization better. And at the end of the day, make things better for our fans, whether it's more customized and we're learning about them, or if we're just finding more efficient processes to ease the way that they're going about their game days.
Yeah, right. So now that you kind of have that central system hub similar to the FAA, just like the FAA takes, the flight plan, translates it into a flight strip, and passes it throughout all the different air traffic control personnel throughout that flight. You guys now have a tool to actually do that across all your various departments. So we wanted to kind of deep dive into some of the reports that Carlos and our team have built together to help with that. And again, move away from spending a lot of time taking all these data sources, putting them together, and then reporting it to turning it into more automated reporting, which makes more real-time strategic business decisions possible, right?
Totally.
So that's kind of, we're going to go through some of the results and show you some of the stuff that the Oklahoma City Thunder now use to make these real-time strategic decisions from a sales rep level all the way up to an executive management level. So we'll start with the executive management level, if you don't mind.
Yep, so this is a dashboard that we're looking at that goes to our executive team. The beauty of it is that it's a lot of information that's put together and it's automated out at various times. So some of our executives like seeing it on Monday mornings, some of them like seeing it in the afternoons, so we set it up to their own liking. This is essentially a snapshot of what our season looks like. So as you can see there, and I'm sure the print's a little small, I apologize for that, is we've got all of our ticketing data, how we're doing as it relates to our budget process. We've got our scan counts, so it's another ticketing stream that's going in there. We've got our food and beverage and merchandise, so that's a different system sending feeds into that. TV ratings and resale. So this is a really, really good dashboard if you want to get a quick look at how our business is doing on a seasonal basis. Along that top right there, right beneath where it says executive dashboard, you can click in by game. And we've set it up to where it's this exact same board, but for that specific game. So we can see what the TV rating was, what the resale looked like for that, how are the per caps on the food and beverage side looking. And it's created a really, really great process and efficient for the executive level and then for us to dig into each certain thing. The one thing I'll add on this too is, so I oversee our analytics team on the business side, and I don't have an analytics background. I was a health major at the University of Oklahoma, so I could tape up any one of your ankles if you wanted to right now. I didn't have the coding background or anything like that, so we were able to develop that with kind of the limited skill set that I had in the data world, thanks to Adam and his team, and Russell and all the guys in the crowd here, to help build something like this from a mind of someone that wasn't in the data background.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed going around working with teams, they come and they invest in whatever software it is, whether it's us or somebody else, and they start pumping in all the data. But then they're not getting the reporting out that they need and getting it up to executive management. So for all of you that are in BI groups or strategy analytics groups, a report like this, how much did that change the perception of executive management's buy-in to analytics and using that to drive business decisions, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so it did two things. It accomplished just the legitimacy of what we were putting our money into. It made our processes more efficient. So instead of having an analyst spend 2 days after a game inputting all of this custom table, it was done the next day. No one had to worry about it. So we're still tweaking things here and there. And then the other thing it did is it generated questions on the executive level of, okay, can we do this? Yeah, this looks great, but can we also do this? And the answer more than likely is yes. So that further drives in the legitimacy of the product and the process.
Okay. So now that you have executive management taken care of, which is important because they're cutting the checks and buying into your team, there's multiple levels of the organization that we need to take care of, right? It's not just get executive management their reports, but it's also let's drive more insights. Let's make sales managers' jobs easier. Let's make reps' jobs easier. One thing that I think everybody continually hears about this entire conference is the secondary market and what to do with it. Well, I don't know what to do with it, but maybe we can help you drive some insights or some reports to help you figure out what to do with it. So for example, we've helped you guys build out a map, an arena map, right?
Yep. One of the examples I was telling Adam about as we were putting this whole thing together is the millennial generation, the younger generation that are coming in as your sales reps and your service reps and your marketing team, they prefer picture books over novels. So we needed to translate a lot of our visualizations into things that were a little bit more relatable to them. They helped us create this seat map. So if I'm an account manager on the retention side of the business and I'm overseeing a portfolio of 400 or 500 season ticket holders, I don't really want to see that in an Excel spreadsheet with a couple columns of probabilities and red flags and things like that. I want to see it on a map because I know the map. That's where I spend my game days. So this was something that was created for the retention and service side with a little tooltip, if you're familiar with Tableau, that you can scroll over and get multiple data sets. And then you can also create a heat map off of this, create different colors and schemes, and really try and get the buy-in on the rep level, because that's going to translate to success as you report on up to the executives.
Right, and getting adoption also requires, I think, especially on sales reps, easier access to information and data, right? So you have your map, but what if they want to drill down and see somebody? So one thing that we focus heavily on is the user experience and making that much better for the reps. So not only are you in a seat map looking around and dialing in, but you can actually pull up your CRM contact through the actual heat map that we have built in. And this goes back to kind of our model that everything should be one integrated approach and not two disparate systems where you actually have to be over here looking at the contact, then in another screen looking at our ticks, and then over here looking at your reporting. Let's put the experience all into one place. So how has that benefited a lot of the adoption, let's say, at even just the user level?
Yeah, it's been terrific. And not to sound like a broken record, but it's created this curiosity among the reps of, okay, can we actually do this? When we first launched this with Core, that screen for Billy Miller looked drastically different. And over the 18 months, 2 years that we've been doing this, thanks to rep feedback, which shows great process of buy-in, we've been able to change things. So we've got some live analytics data over there on the right side that has helped out what ticket group they're actually in. So from a retention, a marketing, a service standpoint, we're seeing where each person falls into a bucket. Their Arctics identification, whether we have LinkedIn info, Facebook info, Twitter info, that was all stuff that was put in kind of after, thanks to good collaboration from the reps to our team to your team.
Yep. Right. And continuing along those lines and improving the rep experience, if we think of reps as, let's say, pilots, going back to our airline example, a pilot's in the middle of their flight and they get some weather data that a storm is coming in. They need to make adjustments on the fly, right? We want to empower reps as well within that same screen. Again, not making them jump back and forth screen to screen. We want them to actually have the experience within the CRM where we're really driving them for all their activities, all their notes, and even some of their purchases. So what we have here, I'll kind of let you kind of go with.
Sure. Yeah, there's been a lot of sessions about just customizing and learning exactly who your client is. I don't think anybody has perfected the process, and by no means am I up here to tell you that Thunder's done that. But we've created some things that are pretty unique here, visualizing email opens on a client-specific level. So we can see if they're clicking through to certain things, if they're deleting things, what they're linking to, which helps drive a little bit of a knowledge base on what their interests are. And that's going to help us service and sell on the backside as we customize more things specifically to them. And this is another screen that just shows exactly what you're linking to from your emails. So we might send out our weekly season ticket member email on a Thursday afternoon, and we might try and see what did Billy Miller click on. Well, these are the specific links that we can then click on and see exactly where they're headed. The next time we talk to Billy, we might reference some of this type of thing. So it's helping us make a little bit more of a customized experience.
Right, and two really cool things about this is, like, one is it allows, like you said, your reps to get actionable data on the fly. They can be on a call with Billy saying, hey, I saw you clicked into this page, what's your interest, and leverage that data. But also, I'm going back to the technical side, is this is all being powered through a warehouse, right? This isn't actual data being pumped into a CRM system. And what I think the old model is people are just pumping a ton of data into their CRM system and using that as their hub, which slows down the system, as well as actually cost more as people are moving to online systems like Salesforce or Dynamics Online. Pushing in all this data doesn't make the system efficient at all. So we're able to solve two problems with that. So continuing on these lines of contact specific information being funneled into the contact page from the warehouse, here's another example, right?
Yeah, so this was a specific opportunity that we had with our reps as they were starting to get feedback about our resale marketplace. In the past several years with the Thunder, the resale marketplace has been very, very lucrative. Having a ticket to the Thunder and being able to resell that's been fantastic. As we transition more towards this season, the feedback was that our tickets just weren't selling like they used to. Well, we all had our own kind of hypothesis of why that was. And what we found was that the tickets actually were selling, but there was just more tickets in the marketplace to sell. We were able to visualize that on a client-specific level so that when Billy calls and says, hey, I'm having difficulty selling my tickets. What can you do? We're able to sit down and actually look at Billy's data and say, well, you're actually posting your tickets a little bit higher than you did last year. Or, hey, did you know that in your section they're actually selling for this amount? So if that's really your end game, we can hold Billy's hand and walk him through the process and try and get him to the results that he is desiring. A visualization like this has been incredibly helpful, and the clients have actually enjoyed it a little bit too, because we have an answer to their issue, and it's something that we created based on rep feedback and with the guys at Core. This is actually something that was developed in Tableau that is now published into CRM.
So then also, we're talking at a granular level, a contact-specific level about the secondary market insights, but what about an overall insight? And you started diving into that. You want to take that a little bit further?
Yeah, sure. So we watch Resale like a hawk, but that transitioned more towards watching postings. That gave us kind of the lifeblood into what our market was telling us about certain games. So as thousands of tickets hit the posting marketplace, what did that say about a game? Was it a high-selling game, or was it a less desirable game that people wanted to get tickets rid of? We didn't know without our own gut feeling. So we were able to visualize it. We were able to see how many tickets were posted at a certain point in the year based on last year's data, what certain games are being posted for. And we can use this, again, with the reps on the sales and service side to help create a more customized atmosphere for the clients.
Great. And then you can dial it in even further down to the seat level.
Absolutely, yeah, and this has actually helped a lot too, as we're walking our clients through the process of a posting life cycle and a resale life cycle. What are the other tickets in their area being posted for? It would not benefit us at all if Billy called us and said, hey, I'm having trouble posting my tickets, and we tell him, well, you should really go on Ticketmaster's site and take a look at what's being posted around you. That's an ineffective way to service. It'd be better for us to be like, all right, well, let's walk through this. Billy, I'm seeing in your section you've got a couple other tickets posted for slightly less than what you're selling for. As we've seen in the upper level of the arenas, people are less concerned about specific location. They're more concerned about price. You might adjust your price down a little bit too. So we're able to visualize that here, and we can print this out to a PDF and actually show it to Billy so he can actually see it as well too.
Cool. So obviously the insights are great, but we also need to make this data actionable, right? What's the point of taking your 10, 12, 15 different data sources, putting them all into one place if you're not going to take action on that, right? So we have a tool at Core called our Campaign Wizard, and so maybe we want to talk about how the data in the warehouse has helped you guys segment your fan base to pass out leads and do all your different day-to-day business functions through that.
So 2 years ago, if a sales manager came to me and said, Carlos, hey, we want to target all of our resale buyers from last night's game and push out an offer to them for a 5-game package, it would have taken a little bit of time. We would have to go back into Arctics, pull the list of resale buyers, cross-reference it with our current season ticket holder database to make sure we're pulling those people out of there, maybe pull out people that lived outside of the state, for obvious reasons. Luckily, with the Campaign Wizard, this is all done with a couple clicks of the button, and it's done at the sales manager's desk. So we walk them through a training process and make sure they're able to understand each of the segmentation tools that exist within this. So instead of pushing out a list to the sales reps, hey, here's your 10 leads, here's your 10 leads, here's your 10 leads, we're able to do all of that work on the back end and a couple clicks of the button, push it right into their to-do list on their CRM. It's been very, very helpful from a sales management standpoint because they can spend less time developing these lists and going through the troubleshooting of it, and also some of the stuff that can happen on the back end of sharing leads and names being all over the place, to spending more time on just developing the rep and how they're selling things. So this has been incredibly helpful. And as I spoke about earlier about how things started and where we are now, the Campaign Wizard was much shorter, and we've kind of helped, with your guys' help, make it longer. So we can put live analytics stuff in there. We can put demographic things in there to segment out. It's been a terrific tool for us.
Right. And I think the important part is that the fact that you're able to centralize all that data in one location and utilize a tool to actually be able to say, instead of, hey, pull this Excel spreadsheet, go pull this from that program, putting it all into one place, allows you to actually save time and focus on what you need to focus on.
Yep.
And the final piece is, sales reps. How many of you guys work with sales reps? They're interesting characters. There you go. Matt has. they don't want to go look for data. Like, you kind of have to put the data in front of them. That's what we find working with teams quite a bit. So we also try to put that data at the easiest point of access for them. So again, going back to embedding this into a CRM system or wherever they're working naturally, we actually build a customized experience for every single rep or group within the organization. So you're looking at an admin level here, and there's a lot of tiles up at the very top here going on. If you show that to a sales rep, very quickly they're gonna just not go click around for anything. They wouldn't do it. So we customize the experience so that they can more easily access that data quicker and more efficiently. Here you can see a management setup, finance setup, as well as service rep, right? And so being able to give them all different customized experiences helps bring them in and utilize that reporting and data more often and create adoption.
Yeah, so I threw this quote in there because I think it's very fitting, as I've talked about 4 or 5 times already. It's just the concept of curiosity as it relates to data and reporting has been really, really terrific. We keep trying to move forward, opening new doors, doing new things because we're curious, and that's what keeps the engine running. The beauty of our relationship between the Thunder and Core is really in the fact that it's a collaborative effort. We're listening to each other, we're building new things, and it's allowed us to evolve and adapt in a better way that's been more effective to our sales reps, to people on the director level, all the way up to our executive team.
Right. So with that being said, what does the future hold for us? This is pretty interesting because I emailed Carlos and I said, what do you think the future holds for this? Centralizing data, disseminating data across all your groups. And he came back to me with the organizational list. Well, I went back, wrote my own list, and this was unsolicited, and mine was all technology focused. But when we looked at the list and compared them, it was pretty interesting because they kind of all cross over a little bit. So you want to talk about what you see on the organization side?
Yeah, so if anybody in here is with a sports team and you're overseeing an analytics department, I think the one thing that you would say is the fact that your staff's probably a tad too small. And so as we all kind of grow and add more analysts and more scientists and everything, it's going to allow you an opportunity to move from reactive with everything, building the reports and doing things as people request them, to a more proactive process. And start digging into the data and going to the marketing director and say, hey, you know what, I spent a little time in there, and have you thought about doing this? You can do that across the whole thing. I think it's going to move from there. I think it's going to be a big shift more towards the predictive space and trying to get out ahead of some of these issues that might be coming. So, who's not going to come to a game? There's a session earlier talking about, spending time on no-shows, which we do. Larger staffing structures, like I said, and then where I think the opportunity lies in the biggest sense is on the sponsorship side and helping their teams just utilize some of the data that we have that I think more easily is transitioned on the ticketing side of things and on the service side of things, making sure that's brought over to them so it's helping with their pitches, their rate cards, and their recaps.
Right, we were talking sponsorship's really at the tip of the iceberg for all that. And on the technology side, we want to help you guys do that. We're almost out of time here, so I'll breeze through them. But automated actions. Somebody opens an email or clicks through on an email. Instead of having a CRM manager actually click and create that campaign, can we make it automated, right? If it's all centralized in one location, we see the click happen, we can write processes that will actually trigger an opportunity to be created in a campaign immediately for that rep. So moving towards more efficient actions. Advanced data mining and natural language processing. Russell, our VP of Products, been playing with this quite a bit, making it much easier for people to actually go in and data mine, not actually doing analysis, but just typing in, show me my season ticket holders that have opened this email or something like that. We're moving towards that. Further embedded reporting, again, I believe that the accessibility of the reporting needs to be right there in front of reps' eyes for them to really start taking it and consuming it. And more industry insights and benchmarks, especially, again, this goes back to that sponsorship topic. Being able to say, you've talked to 2 out of the 40 banks in your market or within the US market that are doing sponsorship deals, and bringing those analytical insights to the sponsorship teams or to the ticketing teams or whatever. So we ran a little long. We have 2 minutes left. We want to open up to any questions anybody has about kind of what they're doing over there, their warehouse, their system, their setup.
Yep.
So this obviously requires some significant investment on financial and resources. How did you were presenting this to executive management? What was the customer ROI? What was more like time efficiency? Like what was
Yeah, it was all about efficiency. We were going to have a hard time giving an exact ROI on what we were spending, mainly because it was uncharted territory for us. But we knew that we could sell efficiency. So we knew that the reps were going to be able to be more efficient in making their sales calls, their service calls. We knew that our time would not be monopolized by generating reports and data mining to the executive team, that some of that stuff could be set up and automated and sent out that way. And then the other thing was the fact that it wasn't just an analytics decision. It was a decision that ultimately affected every department in the organization, and we're getting better to make sure that that's actually coming true. The other thing that we really stressed was the fact that this isn't something that you're going to see an ROI on in 6 months. This is going to be an 18-month, 24-month, 3 to 5 year project where we're going to be really efficient, and you can't just flip on the switch and let it go. Yeah. Yeah, so we use Eloqua, and that's actually, one of the beauties of this whole thing is that by no means I think are we perfect on that. That's something that we need a lot of work on is the Eloqua database, if we're segmenting within that, or if we're segmenting within CRM, and how are they talking to each other? Is there a way that we can do it just in CRM and then push it out through there, or is there a way that we can just do it in Eloqua and go through there? I don't think we've perfected it yet, but that's absolutely on our to-do list. Yep. 2 questions. I think we did
good.
okay.
That means we answered everybody's
Yeah, geez.
questions. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Good job, man.
There's the pose.